Hello, fellow Peaksters. This is Kia Hanning, and tonight we're going to do some Tai Chi and breathing exercises. Uh, so we're doing the Qigong version side of Tai Chi, which is just the moving meditation. We're going to break down all of the movements into smaller pieces and then build them up so that you can do them on your own pretty easily. So the first one, we just want to think about how we move in Tai Chi. And so our knees are slightly bent, tailbone slightly tucked like we're about to sit down, shoulders are down and back, head and neck extending up like we have a string attached to the top of our head, and it's just pulling gently and pleasantly up, and then but we're also sinking down, connecting to the floor. So we want that nice feeling of elongation with our spine. So when we shift our weight in Tai Chi, you want a feeling of flowing back and forth, just smooth movements back and forth. Any of the movements that I'm going to ask you to do, if your body doesn't allow you to do them because of pain or injury or mobility, make a smaller movement, make a slower movement. If that doesn't work, you can kind of skip that part. I'm going to try to give different options in between as we go if you're not able to do some of the movements. So first we're going to start with just shifting back and forth. Like I said, knees are bent, backs are straight, heads are flat. My mom used to always say, keep your head on straight. So keep your head on straight. And we're just shifting back and forth, feeling the weight, feeling how our weight shifts from foot to foot. Ideally, we want our feet flat, and you want to feel the weight in your feet to be in a flat way. Our weight is slightly back from the center of our foot, but not so that you could feel like you could pick up your toes. So now, once we've gotten used to this kind of shifting back and forth, we're going to shift to the side and turn to the corner. Knees are still pointing forward, and then we're going to push off that foot and roll and turn. Arms are loose at your side. You may notice that they kind of flow a little bit as you turn, and that's fine. That's kind of what we're looking for. Shoulders are down, heads are straight. You're looking out and away. If you want to have music going in the background, feel free. Nice, relaxing music. We can't on these videos because of copyright infringement issues, but feel free to listen to your own music. So we're getting our smooth movements down as we shift our weight. When we turn in Tai Chi, we turn from our hips. This is good from the martial side of things, which Tai Chi is a martial art, but also from the full body. If we keep our hips under our shoulders and our movements from our hips, our center of gravity stays lower. And so if we do trip or slip or get knocked into, we don't have to worry as much about hurting ourselves. So we want that movement from the hips. But we aren't rigid in our backs. We are still loose, just everything is turning together. So that's the basic movement. And then to loosen up our hips a little bit, I want you to shift your weight to one leg, open your knee out to the one side, and then rotate it in, keeping the movement just in the ball and socket of your hip joint. If you notice, my torso is not moving, it's just my leg. So that's what we're wanting, just to loosen up that socket. If you have a lot of tightness, that's okay. Just move within your range of motion, as long as it's not hurting to do this. If you get to, ow, then you've gone too far. But if you get to, oh, I feel this stretch, that's okay. Then we're going to shift to the other leg. Again, opening out our hip, rotating our leg in and out. Ideally, you're going to make a 90-degree angle. But again, depending on your mobility, how your body is working, it may be a smaller angle, and that's perfectly fine. You also may notice one leg has a little better range of motion than the other, or one leg is a little like tighter or stickier. For me, it's my left leg is a little tighter, and that's just my body. So everybody's different depending on your injury history or physiological potential issues. You're going to notice a little bit different. Hopefully after this, things will be a little looser, and that is something that Tai Chi is good for, is loosening up those joints, getting the fluid, the synovial fluid back in or rejuvenated in your joints. So now that we've loosened up the hip joints from right underneath, we're gonna loosen from the opposite side. So now we're gonna turn our whole torso back and forth. If you notice your foot is walking out to the side, you can bring it in. And we're keeping our knees of our stationary leg forward in line with our toes. We always want our knees in line with our toes. This is going to protect the knee joint and also keep our body attuned and rotated in the proper way. So we're turning from the hip still, but we're opening and closing the hip on the leg we're standing on. So that's working slightly different tendons and ligaments. And we're just rotating back and forth. Then we're going to go to the other side, turning from the whole body. Shoulders are down, backs are straight. We're rotating from the whole body. Again, you might notice one leg is a little bit easier to move than the other. That's fine, that's normal. And again, don't go to ow, go to where you feel the stretch and stay there. If you're wanting to play a little bit with your mobility and see if you can go a little farther than you had been before, by all means try that. But again, be careful, work within your what your body's telling you. We want to listen to our bodies. If you have a sharp pain, if you have grinding or crunching, then you want to not do that movement or make a smaller movement. So now we're going to kind of put all of this together with the rotation, and we're going to add arms. So we go back to shifting back and forth, turning from the hips. You should feel it opening and closing in the front of your hips. And then if you put your hands on your back, low back, just above those little spots in your pelvis, you should feel the muscles moving in your low back as well. So this is a really nice exercise for those of us with low back pain, hip pain, really any of those options, because it strengthens and stretches and moves those muscles and tendons in our hips, in our pelvis, in our low back without straining them, and gets, brings heat to the area, brings nutrients to the area, blood to the area, and helps us loosen up our hips. So now we're going to add arms. So we shift our weight to one side, we turn toward that one side. So I'm facing to my right, my hips are turned to my right. I'm going to bring my left arm to my right hip, and I'm going to push off my right leg, let my left arm float up, and then it's going to come across in front of me. And then I'm going to shift, push off my left leg and turn back to the right. My arm stays at about collarbone height when it's up, and when it's down at my hips, I just want a soft, gentle curve in my elbow, and then my arm is going to kind of land wherever it does. My palm is down. My palm is going to stay down. My shoulders stay down. I'm just turning from the hips. And my arm is only going because my body is moving it. If I stop my body, my arm stays. At the end of the movement, your arm is going to float a little bit with the momentum. So I've stopped my hips. My arms are going to keep going. My arm is going to keep going. And that is just to kind of feel like what it would be if we were going faster. So if I fling my body, my arm is going to go, and this arm went as well. So we want to, even though we're going slowly, feel what that momentum would feel like. So that's the one arm. We're going to switch to the other arm. So shift our weight to the far leg, reach across, shoulders stay down. I'm going to let my arm float up as I push off and roll my hips. Push off with my foot, let my arm float down and turn. So I'm again rolling back and forth. If the shifting of your weight or the turning of the hips is bothering your knees or your hips or your ankles, whatever, you can either just shift side to side. You will make a smaller movement with your arm, and that's okay. If the shifting is a problem, but the turning is okay, you can just turn. If both of them are the problem, you can just do the arms. It's not going to be a big movement because we don't have our body moving and generating that larger movement. It's really just from the elbow. Our shoulders stay down. If you're worried, well, what is this doing for my shoulders? You can put your hand on your shoulder and you feel all the little muscles moving. So it is utilizing those muscles and ligaments and tendons in your shoulder, but it's not aggravating them. So it's a gentle usage, which is nice if you're rehabbing from injury, if you have chronic injury, all of those kinds of things. So we're turning from our hips, shifting our weight for those of us that are shifting and turning. Now we're going to add the other hand. So shift to one side, turn to that corner. Whichever direction we're facing, that arm is up. So I am turned to my right, I'm shifted to my right arm is up, my left arm is at my opposite hip. I'm going to push off my left hip and change my hands. So my bottom hand is going to float up, my top hand floats down, and then I'm going to roll across. Same thing, I'm going to push off this leg, my hands are going to change, and I'm going to roll. My hips stay under my shoulders. A lot of times as we add the hands, then we forget what the body is supposed to be doing. So people start to kind of lead with the hips and move them out from underneath. We don't want that. We want to leave our hips under our shoulders. This is better for our back, better for our hips, better for our balance. So we're turning from the hips and the arms are floating. I realize the angle of the video makes it look like my hands are higher than they are, but really they're just coming across at my collarbone height. My head is on straight. I'm looking out and away. My eyes are following my body. If you tend to have a little bit of dizziness or vertigo from moving like this, you can turn your head but keep your eyes in one position. Or you can, and this is kind of weird, you can close your eyes as you come across. Whatever works to keep your vertigo in check. As someone who periodically suffers with vertigo, I feel your pain, or your dizziness rather. So shoulders are down, chests are open, shoulders are back, scapula are pulled back, like you could pinch a pencil between your shoulder blades. And we're turning. If you want to take steps with this, you have a couple ways, or change directions, you have a couple ways to do it. So if you want to just kind of stay forward and back, you are going to step out to the corner with your front leg, and your back leg is going to be to the other corner. And so we're just turning from side to side on the diagonal. So it looks like a slightly bigger move, but it really isn't. If you feel like your legs are too far apart, you can drag one back, your forward leg back as you shift back. So we're just shifting, we're just rotating from the hips, shoulders are down, heads are on straight, we're looking out and away. And if you want to take a step when we come back, as I rotate my body, I'm going to lift up my forward toes and turn them out to the corner. Even more, I'm going to shift forward, my weight onto my front foot, come in, step out to the side, and then I'm going the other direction. So same concept, just facing the other way. In Tai Chi, we always want balance and we want to work both sides, partially from a philosophical standpoint of Tai Chi, and then also from a physiological standpoint. You want balance on both sides. You want to work both sides. It's the same with weight training. If I only work my right side, then my left side is weak. And if I need to do something that requires both sides, I'm going to have a problem. I can't remember, there's a movie where the guy only works his one arm and he's got this huge bicep and then the other arm is normal, and it just looks very weird. So I think though in the movie they use it for something, but anyway, I digress. So we're going to take a step back. So we come back and we shift. And I didn't tell you how to do that. So the way we step back with Tai Chi is I'm going to shift back, lift my toe, pick up my foot, put it down, and then shift back. When we take a step in Tai Chi, partially for balance, partially because of the martial aspects, we wait until we have contact with the floor before we shift our weight. And I'm going to talk more about that in our next movement. This is called cloud hands for those of you who are interested in the names of things, also sometimes called wave hands like clouds, because you're imagining your hands are clouds floating gently along in the breeze. Shoulders are down, backs are straight, heads are up. And then when we're done with our movement, we step together and we close. And we can shake, make sure we're loose. So the next one, we'll talk a little bit about how we take a step. So what we're going to do is have our heels touching. We're going to shift our weight to our right, bring our left foot forward, our toes forward, knees are forward, back foot, the toes and knees are to the corner. If you notice, my weight is still back. I've put my foot down, but my weight is still here. We don't shift our weight in Tai Chi until our foot is down, and that's going to help us evaluate the ground. Especially here in Montana, obviously, we have snow, ice. If we put our foot down first and then shift our weight and it's icy or slippery or something, then we're a little safer. On ice, I actually prefer to put my toe down first because I can, if that happens, my weight is still here, but the heel works also. So we shift forward and that's how we take our step. If you feel like you're too far apart, again, you can drag your foot back. So this one, we're just going to shift forward and back for a few movements. And again, we're looking out and away, soft focus. So we're not focusing too closely on any one thing. We're just aware of what's around us. And then now we're going to add our turn. So I'm going to shift my weight back, turn in the direction that my back feet are facing. And then I'm going to push forward and roll back to the front. Make sure your knees stay where in the direction of your toes, and make sure as you shift forward that your front knee doesn't go past your toes. You should be able to look down and see the edge of your feet or your shoes or whatever. That way, you know your knee didn't go past your toes. And why do we care if our knees go past our toes? Because if you shift your knee past your toe, then your weight is on your knee and not on your leg as much. And our knees really aren't designed to hold us up. They're designed to help us move. And that's going to cause problems with your knees either immediately or down the road. So make sure that your knees stay behind your toes. Again, if the shifting is bothering you, you can just turn from the hips. If the turning is bothering you, you can just shift. If you don't want to do either one, you can stand with your feet hip width apart. So that said, we're going to add our arms. So I'm going to shift back, turn toward the corner. My front arm is going to come to my back hip. Shoulders are down, back is straight. I'm going to keep my shoulder down and my arm is going to come out and away from myself, like I'm saying hello to and welcoming people. And then I'm going to turn my palm down and everything is going to come back to my hip. So I shift, I rotate forward, my arm goes away, I float down and come back. So again, the whole body's going. That's what's letting my arm move. My head is flat. My back is straight. The camera angle is making it difficult, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So we've got this movement. Again, if you're not shifting or turning, you can stand with your feet hip width apart and just bring your arm out and down. If your shoulder starts to get tired, you can just come from the elbow and back. That is fine as well. So be, again, aware, listen to your body, see what your body's telling you. So now we're going to add our back hands. So we come to the hip, weight is back, body's to the corner. My back hand is going to rest my 3 fingers on my wrist like I'm taking my pulse. And I'm going to come out. And when I get to the point where my forward hand can move more, but my back hand, it's done going where it's going, I'm going to let my bottom hand stay, and I'm going to turn both hands, and then everything comes back. And you really want to make sure you keep your shoulders down. A lot of times people want to bring their arm up with their shoulder, and it's not that. It's just rotating in the socket. And like we talked about with cloud hands, it's still going to give you good benefits. It's still going to work your shoulders and get those muscles and tendons and ligaments moving, get the blood flowing to your shoulder joints, elbows, wrists, knees, hips, feet, even ankles, without putting a strain of impact or weight on it. And we're shifting. Good. So next we're going to go back to the other side, or go to the other side for the first time. So we're just start again, just to get that feeling of shifting our weight back and forth, making sure our feet are in the places that we want them to be. Shoulders are down, backs are straight. We're looking out and away. Then we're going to turn toward our back foot. Knees are still lined up with our toes, and turn back as we shift forward. Push back, turn, shift forward, and turn. So we're making this movement. It's smooth, it's slow. You may let your arms kind of float and feel that momentum. If you want to feel the momentum a little more, you can turn with a little bit more speed and velocity and see how that momentum works. So next we're going to add our forward hand. So I'm turned to the corner. My front arm is at my back hip. I roll out, palm away. I turn the palm down and I come back to the hip. Shoulder is staying down. Hips are under shoulders. So this is another one where people sometimes are kind of like Latin dancing with it. You want to keep your hips underneath your shoulders. So I'm still turning, but my torso and my shoulder girdle are riding above my hips. So if you think about carrying a big stack of dishes, you wouldn't want to carry one that had knives stuck in there and forks and things, because it wouldn't be flat, it's going to be unstable, and you're likely to spill things. If you have a stack of dishes that are just dishes, all the same size, and they're stacked nicely, that's a much easier stack to carry. So we want that in our bodies as well. We want that stack even and flat. So our back hand resting on our wrist, we come out, we turn our palms, we come back and we turn. We rest our palm, our fingertips on our wrist, and we come back. This is called grasping bird's tail. So if you imagine you have a little bird that's sitting on your wrist and you rest your fingertips on its tail, you come out, you let it go, it comes back and rests on your wrist. You come back and let it go. Good. Turning from the hips, backs are straight, heads are flat. I keep looking down because I'm looking in the camera, but I would like you to look out and away. Good. And this one too, you can take a step. So you shift back. As I turn my hips, I'm gonna lift up my forward toe, turn my hips and my toe to the corner, come out, and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna throw to the side and step forward with my back foot. And now I'm going to the left, well, my left. And then same thing, when we take a step back, I'm gonna shift, I'm gonna step back and throw. We're breathing normally in Tai Chi, with the exception of what we're gonna do next actually. We breathe normally, ideally smoothly and somewhat deeply, but we're breathing normally. We don't hold our breath, we don't expel it loudly or with force. In most forms, there is a form where we do that, but we are not going to get there in this series. But so we're breathing normally. If you want to focus a little bit your breathing, you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. But otherwise, just breathe normally. And we step back and throw. And now left hand forward, left foot forward. Good. Hips under shoulders, knees are bent. And same thing, if you're doing this without shifting, you're just doing the arms. If you're doing it with just the turning, that's what that looks like. You have options. And again, if you don't want to come up too high, first make sure your shoulder stays down. But if that still hurts you, you can just come out with the elbow. You're still going to get the movement. And again, you're still going to be moving your shoulders. So you're still getting some benefit without damaging yourself or aggravating things. And again, if you feel like things are hurting, slow the movement, make a smaller movement, reset, make sure that your body is in the alignment it's supposed to be in, and see if that helps. And if not, then you can make the other adjustments. So the next one is called Swimming Dragon. It's one of my favorite ones to do. And it's very easy. So the body movement is we're going to turn away and lift our heel, and then turn back and lift our other heel. So again, turning from the hips, be aware of your knees. That's why we're lifting our opposite heel. If you have knee problems, don't turn as far. Ideally, you'll be turning 180 degrees. If your knees don't let you do that and you can only get to maybe 45 from the center, and then you're only making a 90-degree turn, that's okay. Make whatever size turn you can. So that's the body and footwork. The hands, if you imagine that you're holding a small watermelon, there's these great watermelons. I haven't seen them here, I don't think, but they're yellow inside and they're so good, and they're this big. So if we imagine we have our little watermelon, as I turn to the side, I'm gonna rotate my hands so that whichever direction I'm facing, that hand is on the bottom and is palm up. The other hand is palm down. So, and they're above each other. So they're at the same height. You could clap them together and squish your watermelon. Then I'm going to extend my arms out, but I'm not going to, I'm going to keep my arms or my palms in the same plane above each other and below each other. So I'm not going to reach out to the side. So you don't end up reaching out very far because of my shoulder. If I rotate, I pull all kinds of things, I crunch things, I lift my shoulder, I don't want to do that. I want to keep my shoulder down, my back is straight. So you're not going to reach very far. Then I'm going to pull in and roll and push out to the other side. So I am making the same movement on both sides. My wrists are turning so that when I come to the middle, my palms are still parallel and they're perpendicular to the floor. Then I'm going to roll them. Palms are still parallel, but they're parallel to the floor now. So this is working our backs, hips, wrists, elbows, everything is moving. If you notice that your feet are walking out to the side, you can bring your foot in so that your feet stay underneath your hips. So we're just going to keep going back and forth to the side a few times. Then we're going to pull in, and instead of rolling and going to the other side, we're going to step out. So we step out on the left foot, left palm is up, right palm is down, and we're going to do what's called Taoist double breathing. And the way this works is if you imagine that you've walked into the kitchen and somebody's cooking something really delicious, but you're not really sure what it is, and so you sniff and you go to see what it is. We're kind of doing that. It's 2 big sniffs and then 1 long exhale, and we're going to do that in time with our hand movement. So we breathe in through our nose, sniff 1, 2, and then down. Our arm floats down as we breathe out. And then we do it a second time, in, and out. Good. Then we come back and we go back to the side and we do our basic swimming dragon move again. And here again, this is a good opportunity to pay attention to anything that might be hurting in your body, anything that feels great. Acknowledge that and say, hey, thanks, body. I appreciate that. And we're just rotating back and forth. Turning from the hips, heads are flat. Adjust your feet if you need to, bring them in closer. Then we're going to do our double breathing. So we step out this time on the right foot, right palm is up, left palm is down, and we do our double breathing. In, out, in, out. Good. Then we step back and close. And I think I didn't close the last one, but it's okay. All right. So the next one, also very easy and is really nice if you don't have a lot of space. I have done this in a bathroom stall, so it works really well. So same thing, knees are tailbone slightly tucked, shoulders down and back, head on flat, chin is flat, spine elongated, and our arms are loose. So we're just going to let our arms float up to about shoulder height and then float back down. And same thing, we want our head flat, we're looking out and away, hips are under shoulders. You can make little adjustments if you need to, and we're just letting our arms float in and out or up and down. If you want to breathe along with this one, and we're going to do a breathing exercise with this at the end in a few minutes, you can breathe in as you float up and you can breathe out as you float down. And I forgot to mention, with swimming dragon, you can also breathe with the movement. So to go back to that really quickly, you can breathe in as you pull in and breathe out as you push out. Or if you have really good lung capacity, you can breathe in all the way across and then out all the way across. The important thing with any time you time your movements is to make sure that they line up. So if I'm breathing out and I run out of air and my arms are still floating down, then I need to either try to slow down my breathing or speed up my movements. So just play with that a little bit if you want to breathe with the movement and see how that feels. And you can again do your little checklist of, are my knees slightly bent, tailbone tucked, shoulders down and back, head and neck extended. I'm looking out and away. I'm rotating just from the shoulders. I'm not lifting my shoulders. They're just staying in place. My arms are what is moving. And this is a nice one. You can do this seated or standing. You can really do any of these seated or standing. If you are doing the very first one seated, any of the ones that we shift our weights for, instead of turning and shifting, you're just gonna shift onto your sit bones and back and forth that way. And this one, obviously, it's just arms. So you could do it seated, lying down, standing up. It's very relaxing because it doesn't require a lot of attention and you can breathe with it. And this is the opening. So all of the Tai Chi forms have an opening, and this is one of the more common openings. In the other video, we're going to do a different opening, but this one is the basic Tai Chi opening. Good. So just shake out a little bit, arms shaking. All right. So just to finish up, we've done 4 basic Tai Chi movements today, with the exception of swimming dragon. All of them come from the forms. Cloud hands is one that you see. Every single Tai Chi empty hand form I have ever learned or seen has cloud hands in it somewhere. It's very common. Martially, it's very useful. We may talk about some martial applications in future videos, but it's everywhere. It's really, and it works your whole body. It's really good for everything. Grasping bird's tail we see in a lot of martial, in the Tai Chi forms, but not all of them. One that we're going to do in the next video is called single whip, and we see that in every single Tai Chi form, even with weapons. Not all the weapons forms, but definitely all the empty hand forms. So swimming dragon is not one that is in the Tai Chi form. That is just a Qigong movement. Qigong is the meditation side of Tai Chi, the meditation pillar. So to end, we're going to do a little bit of breathing exercises, and there are some options. At one point, we're going to come over our heads, shoulders stay down. So you have choices. If you don't raise your arms over your head because your shoulders just don't like that, or you're told not to, you can bring your arms in front. The other thing about when we go over your head, for those of you who are going over your head, we're going to go over our head and then our hands are going to come behind our heads. If you don't have the mobility to do this, or if you, and be honest and pay attention to what your body's doing, if you can't do it without tilting your head forward, then don't bring your hands behind your head. This is not good for your neck. So if you cannot bring your hands behind your head without shifting forward, just bring them either to the sides or in front of your face. So those are the variations before we start this exercise. And this has 4 different parts. So the first one is the one we just did. So our arms float up as we breathe in, and they float down as we breathe out. Then shoulders stay down, our arms come out to the side as we breathe in. We're going to bring our hands around like we're coming around 2 balls, and then we're going to push out as we breathe out. And then as we breathe in, we turn our palms up. We breathe in and we look up. This one we are going to hold for 1, 2, and then we're going to breathe out as our arms come down. We're going to breathe in as our arms come out in front of us, and out as they come down. So in, out, into the side, out and push away. In, turn the palms up, look up, hold 1, 2, and out. Breathe in, drop the elbows out. So turning so you have a little bit different view. In, shoulders stay down, out. Into the sides, come around and out, push away. Breathe in, fingers, palms up, hold 1, 2, and out. Breathe in and out. In, head is flat, out. Breathe in, shoulders stay down, chest is open, and breathe out. Turn the palms, we look up, breathe in, shoulders stay down, breathe out. Breathe in, palms forward, and out. Good. So we're going to close that one. And that's all I have for you today. I'm going to do another Tai Chi video soon, and it'll be building on some of what we did today and some other new things and a different breathing exercise. So enjoy, try it over and over. If you have questions, feel free to comment on the post and tag me. I'm Kia Hanning. And so at the end of Tai Chi class, we bow. So we're going to make our right hand a fist, standing on our right foot with our toes to the corner. Left foot is forward on the toe, ball of the foot. Left palm is open. We bring our fist to our palm. Thank you for watching. Be well, stay hydrated, all that good stuff.